I got pulled over today.
You got pulled over?
Yeah.
Why?
Did you
Was
get a
it by
ticket?
my dad?
No. No, I was hoping it was him.
Was it in Harrisville? Or I mean, in Pleasantville?
In Pleasant View, yeah.
Doesn't
But,
sound very pleasant.
What happened?
I hate to admit it, but I got pulled over for being on my phone.
Oh, rookie mistake.
Oh, you got to hold that down.
Did you
Amateur
get a
hour.
ticket?
I know. No
You
ticket.
should have.
I
You
should
should
have.
not
I'm
be on your
surprised,
phone.
actually, that they didn't give you a ticket for that. That's like
I know, right?
a big no-no.
He had a seatbelt on, though, so it's all good.
That and going in the HOV lane with one person. Big no-nos.
Bro,
It's true.
for real. I see people do the shadiest shiz all
Dude,
over the road.
that's when you pull a George Jetson, man.
I freaking
Jetson?
ducked into the
Jetson.
HOV
Jetson.
lane for a second and came out, and I got pulled over in a $250 ticket.
You got to
Yep.
pull a George Jetson on that.
So stupid.
You know, where he pulls out the police officer and then does the woo, woo. Flies through everybody. You guys not remember that?
I didn't watch
I didn't watch
that
the
show.
Jetsons.
It's in like the
Jetsons.
opening previews or the opening credits,
I got pulled over in HOV.
I think, or it's on the Jetson movie.
I said, "Don't my tax dollars pay for this?" Well, yeah.
Yes.
I got
See,
a ticket.
I don't mean to toot my own horn, but I feel like I've just kind of figured out a way to talk them down.
You show them your boobies.
Yeah.
It makes
One of the
complete
plus
sense.
sides of putting on a little weight.
Oh.
So you got out of it then?
Yeah.
I got.
Well, here's what's crazy. So I not only was on my phone, but then when I pulled out my ID and gave it to him, it still had my Roy address. And
that's a big no-no too.
and he's like, how long have you lived up here? And I was like, about a month now. He's like, well, you have 10 days to change your address.
Yep.
And I'm like,
I got a
oh.
ticket for that.
And he's like, it's a
Seriously?
$140 fine. I'm like, good gracious. And so he's like, so if
Great
you want to
balls.
just,
That's when you're like, bro, it's COVID. I can't even get an appointment in less than 2
Right.
weeks.
but somehow, like the guy he was a sweetheart because he let me go. I don't
You know what? I got one even better. Just drop my dad's name.
It's your dreamy eyes.
Like, oh man, I was really hoping you were Ron Van Beek.
Man, I thought you were my dad.
But your
last
license doesn't say Van Beek up.
It's an adoption thing.
Yeah,
doesn't
it's a
know about
legal
Oh,
status.
That's our fun thing in Pleasant View. We always know where my dad's usually parked. And occasionally we'll see a truck there parked on, it's just right there on 2700 or whatever. And I'll speed up sometimes, go about 75, 80. Speed limit's 55. And then next thing you know, it's like, oh, that's not my dad. And I slam on my brakes.
So I thought you were my dad,
Yeah,
man.
that's what I know. If I ever get pulled over, all I have to say is, literally, I thought you were my dad. This is where he camps out. I was just trying to be funny. They'd probably get on the thing. Hey, Ron, your son's over here.
Look at you.
And then they just let me go.
flexing your ability to
And then
speed.
he'd hand you a
Right.
ticket and be like, "This is me trying to be funny."
I'd probably laugh and be like,
Reckless
damn it.
driving. You were going 70 and a 30. Where's the joke? Like,
It's 55.
Why so serious?
my worst ticket was I was going 80-ish in a 55 in a construction zone.
Ooh. Did you get ticketed for that?
Yes, I did.
Oh.
Wow.
I had to take traffic class for that one.
I've had to do
How
that.
much was your fine?
Believe it or not, it wasn't like that bad. I mean, it was a couple $100. I want to say it was like $200 or $300 and then traffic class.
I was thinking like $1,000.
Well, that's what I was
like
expecting, but I think the traffic class got me out of a lot.
You probably would have been
And
about
honestly,
500.
that class was maybe an hour long. I learned more in that class than I did all of
Yes.
driver's ed.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's serious.
They're good classes.
Right?
I can't
I
remember.
recommend it.
I had to take one too, but I don't remember why. I know it was just to drop my. I probably didn't get any.
It's a
points or
pretty
something. I can't
smart
remember.
move, yeah, because they're like, if you take this class within this time, you won't get any points from this,
Yeah.
or you won't get a fine. So it's smart because it's incentivizing that you learn better about the rules of the road. Should do that more
See,
often.
that's what I liked about it.
Fortunately, none of this will apply to Brian Laundrie.
Oh,
Yeah, freaking.
That dude's done for.
Doucher.
He might be done for already.
super douche.
If he's
my
hiding
theory.
out in the
I don't.
swamplands,
I don't
yeah.
know if he's hiding.
He's going to kill
I
himself
think
the
he's-
moment he's
I think he's
spotted,
already
though.
done it.
Nope.
You think?
No.
I think so. Why else would you disappear in a
I
forest?
heard there were shots
No.
fired last night around his house.
Interesting.
probably
No.
vigilantes.
I haven't
Well,
heard anything
before
on
we
that.
dive too far into it, I'm going to bring you guys in. Welcome back to Five's a Crowd.
Hello.
I'll be
Hello.
your host this evening. My name's Austin. I'm surrounded by my 4 best friends. Whoa. Cam. Chris.
Hi.
Tony.
What's up?
Zach.
Hola.
Unfortunately, we don't have a super uppity podcast for you today. It's actually kind of a sad one. So if you're looking for something a little bit more lighthearted, check out some of our other podcasts. And I also want to mention that the podcast following this, actually it won't be following this one. Timelines.
Following this one, but maybe not immediately.
One of our podcasts.
One of our
What's he say on
podcasts.
Deadpool?
McAvoy or Stewart.
I can't get the timeline straight.
We're going to be posting this out of chronological order, but later tonight, for this podcast, but we will be recording a podcast on location
At a haunted house.
in a haunted house.
You just couldn't. You
I
just
could
couldn't
not,
wait,
man.
could
I'm
you?
excited.
We're
I am
very
beyond
Like legit
excited.
haunted, not like here, take my money and let me walk through and see your fake stuff haunted house. Like
Hey, some of the times those are real
Legit.
haunted.
A house made in 1912,
1912. Bro, that's like
8,000 plus square feet.
that's like the Titanic.
Zach's sixth
Or
sense
the
is
Olympic.
tingling.
It's going to be
Excited.
huge.
oh, it's gonna be scary.
Anyway, so be looking forward to
Right
that
on.
episode as it comes up. We'll be talking about Skinwalker Ranch.
If it's
I'm not gonna lie, talking about that in the middle of the haunted house, I'm gonna get on edge.
The only
Big
thing that
time.
would make it better is if we were at Skinwalker Ranch.
Oh heck yeah,
If
we
it's-
will one day. I think we should.
If we could get permission and
Or,
like not.
or we can even just get up to the mesa that sits above it that's not on the property, but looks over the entire property.
And
Here's
watch the cows get abducted.
You start
Yes.
talking about stuff like that in a place that's already hot for that type of stuff. It makes it a little more interesting.
that's
Pookie,
okay.
pookie,
Let's
yes.
definitely do it.
Stay tuned.
All right.
Anyway.
But today's point of focus is that of Gabby Petito. Been across the headlines now for a few weeks, but I felt like we could offer some really good points of interest on the subject. And also just a little bit of hindsight because we do run social media. And part of the reason why her story blew up.
Because of her social media account.
Exactly.
Yeah,
well,
no.
so if you guys don't know, Gabby Petito is a 22-year-old girl. Was she 22?
Yep, 22.
Yeah. Her and her fiance, so get this, back in August of 2020, he proposed, she accepted, they were engaged, and a year later, here in July, they decided to do a cross-country van life trip, like touring all the state's parks and just points of interest. And along the way, she went missing. It's a very interesting story.
It's a wild story.
Dude, it's crazy. But I feel like before we jump into the timeline of how things go, because I feel like, especially on social media, there are always, it seems like, a polar opposite. You're either for it or you're against it. And the people that are against it always find the most ridiculous reasonings why, which I find extremely frustrating knowing both sides as a creator. So one of the biggest things that I saw for this Gabby Petito thing was like, I'm mad that she's getting all this attention. What about all the other 500,000 kids that go missing every year?
Yeah.
And there's two very valid points as to why her story blew up as big as it was. One, because there was an immediate suspect. It wasn't like she went missing and there was no one to point the blame to. He showed up back at their property with the van and no Gabby. So there's an immediate red flag.
See, that's the thing, though. You say that, but even the police and FBI still didn't see him as a suspect for
And they're
days.
stupid, dude.
Yeah.
And on top of that, she launched a YouTube channel, was on social media, as most kids are nowadays. But just the pure fact that they launched a YouTube channel and then it was only one post and then gone. It was like ghosted.
Yeah.
And personally, when I first heard this story come down the pipeline, Jess was telling me about it. I'm like, this is just a publicity stunt. They launch a
They
YouTube
need
channel
followers.
saying, you know, they're going to go on this cross-country road trip and a van tour, and they post one video and she's missing. And it's like, what a better way to get traction in today's like era of social media and sharing.
Well, especially because my wife's the one who even told me about the story when this all started.
Yeah.
And we were looking at her Instagram, and before this happened, her Instagram she only had a couple thousand followers, and maybe a couple hundred likes on her photos. But like from the moment this started happening or this news came out, you can look at her pictures and see the likes on each picture getting closer to the last one higher and higher, like into the thousands.
Jeez.
Oh yeah. So, and again, we'll go here through timeline in just a moment, but they launched their YouTube channel, and in that form of what it's been now, what, a month?
Yeah, end of August. Is
In a
when it all
month,
started.
that their YouTube channel has now amassed over 110,000 subscribers, and
it's one episode.
Their one video has 5.2 million views, as what I saw just a little bit ago.
Holy crap!
That's like insanity.
That's a lot.
And to my argument, this is not. I mean, this is like the craziest now that it actually has come to fruition, and she is gone. But there have been similar crazy stories for people trying to get that same publicity. There was like someone in Boulder, Colorado, I think it was. It was like he called him the weatherman, where they accidentally sent their kid up in a weather balloon.
Oh, I remember that. That was like one of the original ones. Yeah.
That was like the original
Put him in the
crazy
chair
story.
and floated him off, and then
Yeah.
the kid ratted him out and was like, actually, it didn't happen.
Yeah. And they did that all for
Worst.
publicity. And I was like, okay, this is just what's happening. Well, I was wrong. And I felt bad for being wrong. But anyway, so to go back onto the story.
Hang on, just real fast.
Yeah, go for it.
What if this was still for YouTube? Like, what if they like, I don't know. I don't want to make light of it in any way, but like, what if they were like, I wonder how many hits a dead body would get on YouTube?
That's messed up.
Well,
man,
the only problem is that like major news outlets actually have like seen or heard proof of her being deceased. But
I know, that's what I'm saying. It's like, what if
it started out that way?
Like he's a psychopath and said, I wonder how many hits we'll get if I.
Yeah, something like that. Like what if they meant to have like a full YouTube channel, and then he somehow snaps and kind of has this idea, like, it would get a ton of hits. What if I kill her? Like, I mean, I don't know.
I see what you're saying. You never know.
Just throwing that out there.
And
messed up.
That is extremely messed up. Well, the creepiest thing is I watched their first vlog today just to kind of see if I saw anything and they look like they're the most like typical early 20s, totally in love. It's just these really cute montages of them exploring and having all this fun together. And it's like, I don't see the crazy.
Even her Instagram, same thing, like all fun, happy pictures.
Maybe that's his alibi.
But that's also the problem with social media.
Yeah.
Is you
only see the happy.
what they want you to see.
Yeah, and that to that note, I did want to take a moment and talk about social media and also abusive relationships, like how people can hide that stuff in a closet so well.
Oh, 100%.
I know someone that was in a very abusive relationship and no one knew about it. Totally heartbreaking. I'm not going to break any names, but just one of those things that you never truly know what's going on behind closed doors. And if you are in that position, please get some help. Like,
reach out.
Legitimately.
Yeah.
You deserve better than this.
It's sad. I actually had a talk with Katie about this last night, my daughter. We went and saw that Dear Evan Hansen movie that just came out.
I haven't heard of it.
Oh,
This is our preview.
Heartbreaking. So basically the basis of the story is you've got this kid who is just, you can tell he's sad, all this stuff. Well, he ends up committing suicide. And then they come after this other kid, who he had a cast on, and this kid who committed suicide, like, signed his cast. They thought he was friends. Anyways, long story short, this whole thing gets played out. But at the end of the movie, you also find out that this kid who suffered from horrible anxiety and all this stuff and social anxieties and everything, he actually tried to commit suicide as well. And so the whole basis, if it's a Broadway play that they've turned into a film, the whole basis though is based around suicide. And in the middle of the movie, they do this whole thing, this whole song about how there's always someone there for you to help out.
100%.
And I had to actually, when we got back to the house, I sat Katie down and I said, because she's 10 years old now. And my dad in the business he's in, he said, he's seen him as young as 8, 9 years old commit suicide.
Wow.
And yeah. And so he's like, and so I sat down with her and I told her, I said, no matter how hard you struggle and no matter how much you think that you're alone, I was like, you're not. I said, you can always come talk to me or your mom, or if you don't feel comfortable talking to us, you've got your grandparents, all this stuff. You can come talk to anybody. We'll listen.
Yeah.
You know, and I flat out told her, I said, I struggled in high school and junior high with a lot of bullying and, you know, all my stuff. And I said, I felt like there was times where I didn't know who to talk to. And I said, I don't want you to ever feel like you don't have anybody to talk to.
Yeah.
I said, even if it's just me, come sit down with me. We'll have a heart to heart.
Yeah. And even if it means getting law enforcement involved or whatever.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, and that's what a lot of people think is they think that there's no way out. They think that even if it's a relationship type thing, that there's just no way out. Even if they try to get help, something's going to happen. There's no way out.
Now, from a PO's perspective, do they have like a certain way of dealing with these things?
Pretty much it's if there's a complaint and of abuse or anything in the relationship, it's immediately get the other person out of the house as quick as they can.
Yeah.
And they'll do whatever they can to, even if they can't hold the person, you know, the abuser, if they can't hold them after 24 hours, because you can always put them in a hold at a jail cell or whatever for 24 hours or however long. Once that holds up, but basically they just tell them, go find somewhere where you feel safe, where you know you'll be safe. And that means don't go to anywhere. Don't go to a family member's house where they know you can find you. Get a hotel room. Police will help out. The city will help out. They will do everything they can, even if they need to put you somewhere for the time being.
Yeah.
Someone will help out. So that way, if you're really that legitimate scared that once they get out of holding, they're going to find you, they'll find a way.
So do they have like safe houses and stuff for situations like that? Nice.
Hotel rooms, stuff like that. They will find, no matter what, they will find a way.
And I hope that like is a big message that a lot of people understand from this specific podcast is that if you are in that situation, get out.
Yeah.
Like don't give them any more excuses. Just time to go.
You deserve better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I like to think, too, that even as crazy as the world feels right now, there's still good people out there that you could even go up to a complete stranger and that person's going to do what they can to help you, at least in that moment.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And it's not your fault. Always know that. Like, I know a lot of people don't say anything because they feel like it's their fault. Like, this person's doing this to me because I did this, or they're doing this to me because I did this. It's not your fault.
Yeah.
Talk to somebody. You know,
that's usually how it
everyone's
starts
there.
out, though, is they break you down as a human beginning, and then they just
And sadly, they're good at it.
gaslighting and all sorts of stuff. And they basically break your self-worth, which is just terrible.
Yep.
They are subhuman.
Anyway. Man, this is such a heavy time.
is.
I want to bring it up and bring it like happy, but there is no
way to do
happy
it.
in this story. There really isn't. So to press forward on the story of Gabby Petito, and if you guys are curious, we can provide. Should we provide links to stuff?
I mean, honestly, it's so big right now. If you just Google search Gabby Petito, there's stuff everywhere.
Well, but the thing is so like when I was searching, when I did any sort of like Gabby Petito's vlog, all I got were news videos. I could not find her specific YouTube
the vlog
channel,
itself.
stuff like that. So we'll link those down below if you're curious. Their YouTube channel was the Nomadic Static, and there's some other interesting points of interest that I'll link below as well, as far as even identification stuff for Brian Laundrie. If by the time this video posts, if he has still not been found. So anyway. Pressing forward. So as I mentioned, 2020, they got engaged. 2021, July, they decided to leave on their cross-country trip. And in August, they're hitting up and this is why it's also peculiarly, I cannot say that word. Peculiarly.
Oddly.
Say that word for me.
Peculiarly.
That's the one.
That even sounds wrong. Oh.
Oddly enough,
it's intriguing to us because a lot of this happened here in Utah.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Wild.
But it wasn't the 70s. So
Yeah,
what's even weird about that is, I spent a week in Moab like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I was probably there about maybe a week after they had hit there. Like, that's what's crazy.
Well, in that last picture she posted in front of the Monarchs,
yeah,
I've taken pictures in front of that exact mural.
Yeah.
Now, didn't they live with his parents?
They did. So they lived with his parents, and from what I understand, they they went to New York to celebrate someone's graduation. And then from that point in New York is where the cross country started.
Yep.
But the Laundries live in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where they lived. They started their trip in New York. And anyway.
Sorry, were they doing cross country national parks?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Is that
Exactly.
okay?
They were planning on being in, I believe it was Washington or Oregon, by Halloween.
Okay.
Yeah, and then but in August, that's when they hit up Zion, Cedar, Bryce Canyon, the Mystic Hot Springs, Canyonlands, and from then there was about a 12-day window where there was no posts.
And quick note, they were doing all of this in a van
Yep.
Yes,
that they modified basically for sleeping, for cooking. So they were living that van life, that a lot of people are doing. It's really popular.
It's
like a-
Vlogging style.
It's like a motorhome, but
Yeah.
but way
the size of a
smaller.
van.
Yeah, it was like a
It was a
Ford-
small,
It's a Transit Connect.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
a Ford
Yeah.
Transit. It was like a 2012.
Yeah, real. It's not super big, but
No.
enough to sleep in and cook food in.
That's about it. Yeah. And so around August 12th is when the very first thing started happening. And that's at least the footage I was able to come across was a cop trailing them. They were doing about a 45 and a 25.
Mm-hmm.
And they were driving kind of erratically. And all of a sudden, you can even hear it on the cops recording that, oh, what the heck? And they just hit a curb. So without question, he pulled them over just to see what was going on. At that point, Gabby was in distress. She was, crying hysterically. They kind of separated the parties. We're talking to them each individually. Brian kind of gave his piece that she was under stress starting up this vlog, trying to get it all going with all the editing. And he got into the car with dirty feet, was what he was saying.
So yeah, she was trying to start the vlog,
Yeah.
like start a vlog. He had gotten in the car with dirty feet and stuff like that. There was also actually somebody called 911 because Gabby was slapping him.
Yeah.
Gabby was attacking him
while driving.
in a like when they were stopped and while driving. Laundrie, I think, or Brian actually says that she grabbed the wheel. That's why they hit the curb. It's because she grabbed the steering wheel while he's driving. So she was having a hysterical moment, and when the cops were talking to him, even she said to the police, like, I have anxiety, I have extreme OCD, I was upset about this stuff. So like they determined that she was the aggressor in the situation. Like he was being super calm, she was very upset, she had been hitting him and stuff. So just like you said earlier, the police officers thought best thing would be to separate them for the night. So they left Gabby with the car, and they took Brian to a hotel to stay the night and keep them separate for the time.
Yeah. Just to have like a cool off period.
You would have thought they would have done the other way around, leaving a young woman by herself in this van.
Well, that's what's so weird about this incident. One, most of the time this stuff happens, the male is usually the aggressor. A lot of times it's the man. So it is weird at first for, to see that, especially the way everything panned out, that she was the one being the aggressor towards him. She was slapping him, hitting him, all that stuff. Again, it makes you wonder, though, if anything happens behind the scenes.
Yeah.
But I feel typically if she were the one being abused, she'd be afraid to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's before. And again, I'm going to kind of also share my thoughts as this was unfolding. So in that time when that news was released that she was kind of slapping him, it's kind of like, okay, well, maybe this was like just an abusive relationship both ways.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point there was just a breaking moment. It's really hard to tell, obviously, because we don't have the whole story.
Mm-hmm.
But and this is where for me it was kind of creepy. On August 19th, my birthday, is when they posted their first video to YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And so again, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna make a joke that wasn't gonna be funny. So go ahead.
Well, now I'm intrigued.
I
What
was
was
just gonna say, so it's your fault.
Oh,
See, stupid. Moving on.
and
You saved it.
yeah, that was good.
Can I say something real quick too
Yeah.
before you get going? I think the same thing too is where you think it could be a back and forth thing as far as
Yeah,
both of them being abusive. A lot of people don't understand how much your significant other can, I mean, with them being so young, can get on your nerves that quickly. They went from,
That's for sure.
Oh yeah, dude.
I mean, they went from living in Florida, all this stuff, probably having jobs, not seeing each other that much, to now you're on a cross country trip with each other and you're with each other for 24/7. That can set some people off like that.
Well, and that shows a lot about a relationship too, like how you're going to feel about each other.
I mean, and that could be easily, like you said, that could have just been a huge breaking point in their relationship where she's, like she said, she's hugely OCD, has this anxiety, and he probably was just like, I'm done.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, as bad as, not that that's funny, but I mean, it's,
Well, and after,
sorry, I didn't
after
mean to
my,
laugh. Feel bad.
feel bad. After my previous relationship, part of my filtering process with girls that I was dating was to go on a road trip with them.
Yeah.
Because I heard that is the best way to see who you're compatible with.
Yeah.
You're tired. The real you comes out in those resting moments.
Yeah. And yeah, so that's why Jess and I went on a California trip where we started in San Francisco, made our way down to San Diego, and just kind of hit LA and all that too. So
Kind of
made it.
Worked out.
It worked out, guys.
kind of going off on that, and that's one area that it's tough for me because obviously in our religion we no premarital sex, no living together before you're married, that type of thing. But at the same time, I feel like when you live with somebody, you get a whole different version of them.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
than when you're dating and different things. Even if you're seeing each other every day for hours and hours at a time, by the time you're actually living with them, it's a whole different ballgame. And so that's one area I've always kind of struggled with, is I still definitely believe in no premarital sex because I get the reasoning. But for a healthy relationship, I feel like there has to be some kind of connection. So I like the road trip idea. That's a good one.
Well, and Jess and I, we had lived together. I mean, this was obviously after the road trip, but we lived together for 2 years before we got married.
So what was yours and Jess's road trip?
That was the San Francisco to LA to San Francisco, LA, San Diego.
Nice.
And we did couch surfing, so it was like uber cheap and
Nice.
dangerous.
Yes.
Anyway, but yeah, to fast forward, sorry, the 2 years living together, by the time we got married, it was just like nothing had really changed, just our title. Like because we had already known each other's flaws by that moment.
Yeah.
Back onto Gabby. So then after the 24th, the 19th of them posting their YouTube video, the August 24th, they are also then seen in Salt Lake City, staying at a hotel. The 25th, Gabby posts that last Instagram post writing, "Happy Halloween" is just a joke, holding a little tiny pumpkin in front of the Monarch there in Ogden, which is super close to where we live.
Yeah.
As Cam said, he took pictures there.
I've been there. Yeah.
What's the Monarch?
It's literally just a mural on a random wall on 24th Street.
Okay.
And it's just a mural of monarch butterflies.
We were literally
Oh,
there.
okay.
We were there last night.
Yeah.
As creepy
Okay.
as it is, yeah. Just on a quick date. So
And it's not in the it's like a street or two up from Main Street
Okay.
or Washington, I mean. So it's kind of out of the way, but it's also very easy to find.
Yeah.
and then and if you guys have any input, go ahead and just feel free to butt in because I'm
Well,
just gonna kind of go down through the timeline.
I was just reading some stuff on this website here talking from Distractify,
yeah.
where people had interviewed some of their friends and they were saying that like their friends think that their relationship was kind of toxic from the start.
Really?
So it wasn't a great relationship. They were all kinds of weird issues. At some point, Brian like had stolen Gabby's ID when her and her friend were supposed to go line dancing. He was kind of the jealous type. He was worried about her leaving him.
I do remember reading something about them being on the rocks before they left.
And maybe this was in their mind a way to reconnect.
Yeah.
And it didn't quite go that way. It also talks about how in the video, I didn't watch the full body cam footage.
Yeah.
But this is saying like in the video, Brian lies to the cop and says he doesn't have his phone. And then a few minutes more into it, he pulls his phone out of his pocket.
Oh, geez.
So little things like this, and people are obviously like dissecting it themselves, and they're wondering if maybe he was gaslighting her. So, which could very well be like maybe he was kind of pushing her to get more aggressive and letting her be the one to like attack him, kind of thing. So that he could then play the victim.
Self-defense.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So like he could easily have been doing that because I guess he calls her crazy to the cops when things are going on. And since she admits to hitting him, that's why they called her the aggressor.
I feel like the word crazy, though, can definitely be thrown around pretty lightly
it's
nowadays.
so easy.
So
Like
it's hard
anything.
to, but yeah.
So, I mean, yeah. So they're 100% could be a lot more than what we've seen because they're not going to show that on social media. They're not going to put that in their YouTube. And so the only reason we even know there was an issue is because of this footage. Like,
Yeah.
because they got pulled over. What if they didn't? Like, this could be a totally different story.
Well, and there was also another story, I swear, and I totally forgot to look into the dates on this, but there was also another where a third party called the cops on them in saying that there was a domestic dispute going on.
I think that was all around this same time.
That was all around that same
Yeah, because
day?
they were fighting all day.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Apparently. So
At the
she had
campsite,
struck
right?
him on the arm. She locked him out of the van and he climbed in through the window. So they were having issues all day. But here's one of the weird things, another weird thing. Don't know if it's connected, but it happened.
I was going to bring this up. Go ahead.
So just a few days after this altercation, there were 2 women who were shot to death in a nearby campground to where this happened.
Yeah,
Oh,
and they
yeah.
have no leads on who
Nothing.
did it. So
Are
very
they
suspicious.
Trying to connect the two?
Yeah, like they're trying to see they don't know if there's anything there yet, but they're definitely not closed the case as far as I know that he could like they're still putting him as a consideration at this point.
Oh.
But I
a
do
person
guess
of interest.
there is a footnote here. It says police were investigating a connection, but on September 17th, they said the 2 were unrelated.
Okay. So maybe this is where it is because you said it happened a few days later.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so yeah, in my notes here, it says on August 27th, that's when Gabby's mom received an odd text. The text just said, "Can you help Stan? I just keep getting his voicemails and missed calls," which she claimed was kind of out of character and concerning.
Who's
On-
Stan?
Who knows?
That's the thing is a lot of people are dissecting it as a
Code?
Code for help.
Which is interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't, maybe her mom didn't know that. I don't know, but that's a lot of people. Cause a lot of the times, God, what was it? I listened to a call into dispatch the other day. It's like on YouTube or whatnot. And it was this girl calling into dispatch saying, "Hey, I need to order a large pizza." And she goes, you got the wrong number. And she goes, "No, I don't. I need 2 large pizzas,
Yeah,
please."
she says something like, "No, you're not understanding.
Yeah.
I need 2 large pizzas."
And then
Preferably with pepper.
and
And lead.
finally the dispatch person got caught on and she goes, oh, okay. Is for 2 people in the house? She goes, "Yeah." Is the other person in the house? Yeah. And then you hear the guy in the background, "What the hell are you?" Just being completely just mean. And she goes, "Okay, all right. Well, we're getting pizza on the way. Someone's on the way."
And the best part is she's like, if he's armed and dangerous, say that if you want, pineapple on it or something. So it's like a code. And she's like, "Yeah, I'd like pineapple on that."
Because pineapple on pizza pisses people off.
Oh my.
But yeah, that's a wise tool. If you
not
guys
true.
don't know that, definitely use the lingo.
Yeah.
calling
And
in
that's
if you need
a lot of people are dissecting that text message as
a cry
he's
for help.
looking, and she's like, "Well, I can't write my mom and say I need help." She's saying something oddly specific to where her mom's like, "What on earth?" and would hopefully try to look into it.
Yeah.
Well, and on that note, real quick, maybe you know the details of this, but I do know for anyone, like if you're ever in a weird area and you're being pulled over by police, isn't there a number you can call to like verify that it's actually a policeman pulling you over?
911.
Or would you just call 911?
You can just call
It's like
911.
I remember seeing something, but yeah.
You can call 911 and you can basically say, "Hey, I've been pulled over. It seems very suspicious. can you please verify that this is an officer?
Like if you're like almost 99% sure you didn't do anything wrong and yet you're getting pulled over.
Yeah. You're in like some weird, creepy back
You can keep your
alley.
car locked. And if the person comes up and says, open your door now, basically what's going to happen is dispatch is going to get on the phone and say, hey, they're suspicious of you. I need to identify you as an officer first. You know, but if some of the times they'll say, hey, there's no one in your area. There's no officer in your area. You need to get out of there as quick as you can.
Better yet, if like some lights are going on behind you and it's kind of suspicious, just keep driving and call the cops.
You can do that. You can,
That's
instead
a
of
much
pulling over,
better
you can actually
situation.
you can keep driving and call dispatch and say, hey, I've got a car trying to pull me over, but this is very suspicious. I'm not stopping until you can verify.
Then you get a ticket for being on your phone while driving.
No,
But dispatch will call that officer and say,
hey, they're not stopping because of this. I have verified you. They're going to pull over now.
Yeah, and the best part is, and I think it's a common misconception that when lights go on behind you, you need to pull over immediately. But if they're trailing you,
they're gonna follow you until you comply.
Yeah,
So.
and it's not like an immediate. I need to pull over right now. You can take your time and do it in a safe.
And make sure you feel
manner.
safe.
And a lot of people are scared that if it is really an officer that you're gonna, like you had just said jokingly, they're gonna give me a ticket for it because I didn't pull over me. It's like, no, if you're verifying the situation,
you're fine.
You are 100% fine. The officer can't do anything. You have records that you've called into dispatch, all this stuff. So even if you do get tickets, you can go to the judge.
It's an emergency situation.
Yes, exactly. You will be 100% fine.
Yep.
So a couple of things real fast. Just again, this is just my brain, just what ifs. What if she sent the code that, Stan, whatever, and Brian saw Stan, got jealous, and that's what set him off. And yet the whole thing, there wasn't actually a Stan.
Yeah, I don't know.
So that was just kind of a what if. And then the other thing I was wondering is with the two ladies that were murdered, what's going on? Like, I don't want to derail us, but what's going on with that? Like, how come this whole Petito thing is still like I get they're still trying to track this guy down, but like, I'm curious what's going on with that now.
But like, what if there's like some serial killer or something crazy?
Yeah.
But that's the thing. As of right now, they have nothing.
I think
they have no leads.
To me,
they
that's
have no
more
nothing.
interesting.
But I also think
sorry,
it comes down to social media. Like this story has caught fire through social media, so people are talking about it.
See, my brain goes to the fact too. We need to have like just a social media page for missing people.
Yeah.
To where anybody
And there is.
knows.
Call it Milk Box.
Yeah, I can guarantee you there's a Reddit thread that has a missing person.
If we have one, we should link that too.
Yeah,
Well,
definitely.
Yeah.
And that's the hard thing about these two ladies is I mean, because I've listened to many of murder podcasts as well. There's literally no leads, nothing going on. And if there is any leads, the cops are being hush about it
Because
they don't want to tip the person off. And so it's very hard for like even viewers, like if there's people who know these people, anything like that, they might not know anything. Where
like the family and
the family, like this could be some complete, from what I've understood is it's like almost like a complete random act.
Yeah.
Like there is nothing as to why this should happen. Where with Gabby and her fiance, it's like immediately they were trying to contact him because he randomly shows up in Florida at his parents' house
with their vehicle.
And it's immediately like, okay, we've got something to go on. And that's why it's being pressed so hard.
Yeah.
But with these two other ladies, like it happened and it's vanished and
they might be doing something behind the scenes.
Exactly. And there's probably a lot going on behind the scenes that they're keeping hush hush because you don't want to tip the person off that, hey, we're looking after you, because then they're going to be like this Brian guy and take off.
So the two ladies were for sure killed before her.
Yes.
Because it was just
I know she was found after.
When was that couple killed?
It says their bodies were found August 18th.
So 18th. So August 19th is when they posted that video. Let's see.
August 12th is when they were pulled over.
So the bodies. So
she
of the two ladies were on
she
the
was still
18th.
communicating with her parents by this time.
Yeah.
And they were just wow.
Yeah. So it says.
Sorry, when did they pass?
So
August
Kylene
18th.
Schulte, 24, and Crystal Turner, 38, had told friends they feared a creepy man a creepy man they had seen nearby might harm them before their bodies were found August 18th. What was that?
That's what I want to know too.
It's starting already?
Oh my gosh.
Oh, I got chills. Why are you
I
looking
got
like
goosebumps.
that? Okay.
So I mean,
what if I don't know? My brain's just kind of like running all over the
You want
place.
to connect it all.
But like, what if there's some kind of smart killer who saw this young couple arguing, fighting, and already starts to develop this plan that he's going to set him up, and the whole plan this whole time was to kill off the two ladies, and Gabby just happened to be collateral damage, even though it happened days later.
Yeah, but the fiance's
Well-
acting really
yeah.
Well,
shady.
and that's just it. What if he
I
just
love how
had
your brain just.
I've
seen too many movies.
Too many movies. But like, what if he just has no idea how to handle this? Like, no idea. His mind just snapped after his fiance ends up dead.
Like something dark happened where he had to watch the guy and he like his mental state is just shattered.
Something, yeah. And it's like, and so what if they are tied together, but the killer is so smart that he kills these two, then kills her, sets Brian up, all just for this big elaborate plan.
But see, and here's the
Because
thing.
they're never that smart.
Sorry, what day did you say the couple went missing? Or
So
passed?
their
18th.
bodies were found on August 18th.
So August 24th is when they were seen in a hotel in Salt Lake City.
Yeah, that was the last time
Yeah.
she was
So-
seen.
What were the two
But
ladies?
the two ladies were both shot to death. Nobody has made any kind of mention of a gun even being registered to Brian, or no mention of a gun in Brian has been connected. And the autopsy has found that she was murdered, but they didn't say how.
Yeah. And we'll get there. Anyway, so pressing forward, this is also what was interesting on August 27th. So that same
Your
day,
brain rolling.
granted this information came out weeks later.
Yeah.
But that same day on August 27th, the mom gets that text about Stan. I'm getting your calls, your missed calls and voicemails, blah, blah, blah. That same day, another vlogging travel couple, they go by Red, White, and Bethune. They're also like a travel vlog couple. What?
It's just a funny name.
This is the video I sent you guys.
Yeah,
Yes.
they were traveling through the Tetons, and in their car footage, they see Gabby's
Which
van, the Ford
I
Transit.
read more into it. They are actually one of the leading causes as to how they found her body.
Exactly.
Which in
We're
that same,
gonna get there.
Oh, sorry, I'm jumping ahead. This is the one part I've been excited to talk
go
about.
for it. You go ahead. You already kind of spilled the beans, so go for it.
No, so they're on their vlog. They drive past this van and basically they're like, oh, hey, look, they're just basically trying to find a place to park for the night because they got there so late. Rolling back through their footage after all this had become so popular, it got pointed out that that was probably their van. And so they pointed out to the police like, hey, you need to, go check this area. We drove past, we saw this van, which ultimately led to them doing the big wide search there. And that's where they found her body.
Yeah,
The creepy thing is, and I tried to point out to you guys, and I know you said you couldn't see it.
I couldn't see it.
A lot of people were pointing out in this video, as they're driving past, there's a clearing that goes through the bushes that opens up to a big clearing. And you can actually literally see some figure in the background in the middle of the field, and it's moving. It's not like it's just something. It's moving, and it looks like someone's out there in the middle of the field doing something.
digging.
Which literally the only van around is their van.
Yeah,
So the only person that could be out in the field is
Jason Voorhees.
yes, is Brian or her.
See, and
We need to change this podcast to herding squirrels. Is what we need to do.
see, and when I watched it, like I reran it over and over on that spot, and to me it looks like a tree.
yeah. It looks like a bush, to
Like
me.
almost like one of those like Joshua tree type things where they're like funky shaped. You know?
Yeah.
Well,
Right.
and as you're driving, it just your perspective on it changes, which makes
Yeah.
it looks like it's moving.
It
Now,
looks like
one
a
thing
stump.
that was weird is in that I saw another version of that picture where it zooms in and you can see a sandal right out
Yes.
the back door,
Yeah.
just on the
Oh.
ground.
Yeah,
Okay.
so there's footage from the police officer's body cam that shows her wearing these gray flip-flop sandals, and then right in that footage of the car, you can see right at the foot of the trunk or the back doors of their Sprinter van that there's a gray sandal on the floor.
Easy to miss. I literally, the picture I saw had a big red circle. And I was like, oh, dang.
Okay.
There's a sandal
wow.
right there.
Okay.
Huh.
Which is
wild.
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, but yeah, so that was that day was when they drove past that site was August 27th.
From
so that
6
was in the
p.m. to
Tetons.
6:30 p.m. is when they drove
Yeah.
through.
So then so at that point, we can safely assume
He was probably
she's gone.
Yeah.
Yes.
August 30th is when Gabby, let's see here. The mother of Gabby got her last text message, and I think it said something like, "We're in the Tetons, won't have
no
service."
service.
Something
Which
like
she
that.
still said was not.
It didn't
Didn't
sound
sound
anything
like
like her. And I think a good point to make too is that up till all this crazy stuff started happening, she was in constant contact with her family, like almost on a daily basis.
And then nothing.
And then nothing. Yeah, like
Well, and I don't know if you read about this, but on August 29th, a TikToker has come forward.
oh, yep, this is in my notes.
Yes,
Go for it.
saying that they had picked up this guy who was hitchhiking around that area, and
Yeah.
it wasn't till later because he was trying to go to Jackson.
So
or
in
where
my
was
notes, it
headed?
said her name is Miranda Baker. Her and her boyfriend picked up a
Uh-huh.
hitchhiker named Brian from the
Yep.
Coulter Bay village south of the Tetons, and he was looking to go to Jackson.
Yes.
And this was around 5:30 p.m.
Exactly, and he offered them $200 for them to take him there, and they were super kind and nice and helped him out. Actually, he offered them $200 to drive him only 10 miles down the road. But they were like, well, that's weird, whatever. Later on, when all this stuff is coming to light, they see him in the videos and they're like, oh my gosh, that was Brian Laundrie. He was the guy we picked up on the 29th. So 2 days after the van was seen,
Yeah,
and he was hitchhiking.
that's crazy, man.
Yeah. Super weird
So-
stuff.
Yeah.
See why that makes me like completely weirded out because why is he hitchhiking?
Exactly.
Like what?
Because he had to get back to the van eventually.
Yeah.
So he did drive the van back home.
Well, didn't they say too that that his parents came up to try and find him, and when he wasn't at the campsite, they took the van and drove it home, or they took the van, and it's like, well, even if you went up to a campground, couldn't find your son.
No. You're thinking of his car.
Okay,
That's later.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's way
later.
later.
sorry.
Yep.
No,
I
you're
know.
good.
I know what you're talking about.
So, that's interesting. So, what was he even like hitchhiking around for?
Well, and it says
Because that I don't know why this was something I'd never put together, like connected.
Yeah.
Is because then 2 days later, he arrives on September 1st back down in Florida, which is 2,300 miles away from the Tetons.
that's like a almost nonstop
Yeah.
drive, isn't it?
And he pulls in with their Sprinter van without Gabby.
It makes
and
me,
acts normal.
it makes
Like,
me
that's what's
wonder if
insane.
he was trying to create an alibi, saying that she
Maybe.
dropped me off at Jackson or something, trying to create an
Yeah.
alibi saying he wasn't.
Well, because it
That's
says the
interesting.
lady says in her story, she says, we told him when Baker said they were headed to Jackson, she said that Laundrie freaked out and demanded they drop him off immediately. He kind of hurried out of our car, and then was like, I'm going to find someone else to hitchhike. And we're like, okay. Baker said it was a weird situation. Baker highlighted that despite claiming that he had been camping for days, Laundrie did not appear dirty and seemed to have little in his backpack. In subsequent videos, Baker went in deep analysis of the timeline and locations of her encounter with Laundrie, including exactly where she picked him up and dropped him off. They said they were camping at an unregulated campsite and had slept on a tarp during that time. So, like, just super weird stuff.
So I still don't understand why he'd be hitchhiking.
Exactly. Like, here's the thing. One, so with people thinking they see him in the background, the other reason I don't think that is him, I think it's just a bush, is because you wouldn't be that close to the vehicle.
Yeah.
I think in a wide open area. If you were really concerned about hiding something, you would not be out in the open for people to see you trying to dig a hole for a body.
So was he trying to get a ride back to the van then?
I I don't see. That's the thing is I don't know how far away from the van he was.
That's where I'm saying maybe he got an alibi to get out of there and be like, she never came and picked me up. I don't know.
like,
You know,
pretend
trying
like
to get
she
an alibi
dropped
for
him.
himself. Yeah, she dropped him off somewhere, and he's like, she
weird.
never came and picked me up.
It's true because I did hear rumors, and I could be completely wrong, but I did hear when he showed back up in Florida, and everybody's like, "Where's Gabby?" He basically said, "I left her on the side of the road, like, or she left me or something, and I got the van and just took off." I remember hearing something like that, or maybe it was just people speculating that that's why he showed back up without her is
Or
he
then
just left
maybe
her on the
with
side of the
stuff
road.
with stuff like this, where he's starting to see that people are like, "Oh yeah, I picked up him and this and that." He's like, "Oh my whole story's getting unraveled." That's maybe why he ditched out.
Now, I wonder too, like, is there any real validity to the hitchhiking? Like, could it just be someone just trying to make news to be relevant?
I mean, at this point, it's all you can do is believe him.
Yeah.
Like
I
they
mean,
don't
that's-
have like picture,
They don't
video
have
proof.
I
video.
just
or
can't think of
anything.
a situation where you would need to hitchhike away if you're the only one with the vehicle.
Unless
Unless you are trying to create an alibi, but he never contacted
And
the
leave the
police.
vehicle.
Yeah, unless you want to
Yeah.
be seen. Unless you want to be seen away from the situation, because a lot of the times, police can narrow it down and or not police, the body examiner, they can narrow it down and say they died on February 23rd at such and such a time or between such and such a times, and the person that they're looking after, they can say, like for instance he could say, oh well, she died here. Well, yeah, there's video proof or there's proof of people witnessing me at this place when she died. And maybe he was trying to cover up a timeline where they're seeing her dead here. And he's like, well, people are seeing me here. So how could it have been me?
Yeah.
And that's the only thing I can think of is he's trying to create an alternate timeline
Yeah.
to
An
throw
alibi.
off.
Alibi where he's
Yes.
away. Yeah.
Interesting.
Exactly.
I don't know. That's all speculation though. So
It is.
Or
yeah,
it's
it
some
is.
rogue killer that has planned something and really did need to hitchhike back to the car.
That's my theory.
road killer named
Um,
Freddie Jason.
So yeah, as I mentioned, September 1, he arrives back in Northport, Florida, around 2,300 miles away. And this is where it gets extremely weird.
Also, real quick. With that TikToker that picked him up, the police did confirm that they actually talked to them. So the only thing I can think that would keep them honest is because they would be in a lot of trouble if they were lying about it with
Gotcha.
the actual police. So they actually talked to the police, made a report. So
Okay, interesting. So and then after September 1, this is where it's like
super weird.
the dumbest, like, what is going on in Florida?
Well, everybody asks that question.
Yeah,
but
right.
That's
I
Every day.
love it though.
So literally it takes 10 days from the span of September 1 of Brian arriving back in Northport, Florida to September 11th. It took 10 days for her parents to file a missing persons report. I don't know how you take 10 days to report a missing person.
Dude, my kid goes missing 10 minutes.
That's what I'm
At
saying.
most.
The hard thing is missing persons. I don't think you can declare missing person until 24 hours
24
after.
hours.
But
the
still,
notice.
that's
10
a day.
I get that. No, I get that. But I'm just saying you can't even do it 10 minutes after.
And the fact
It's-
that the dude showed up from a massive trip
That's-
without her?
That's what boggles my mind is
Yeah.
you show up back up without her. If it was my daughter, I'd be calling the police immediately.
Well, here's the thing,
and being
though.
like, I can't claim missing persons, but where is she? And he's back here.
Missing
her
persons
parents-
from the last time they contacted her, though?
did her parents know?
Well, that's what I was going to
That
say.
could be. They
No,
could
no.
look at any contact points.
Did
like,
they
nobody's
know
heard
that
from her
he
at this
showed
point.
up
Yeah.
on the 1st? Or did they not know until like the 10th or the
When they're-
11th?
Which could be because
Got you.
like
my-
he hid from them.
Because they're probably like, where the hell is she?
my
You know what I mean?
conspiracy is too in this is I think his parents are involved.
Well,
They are also being super quiet
Yeah.
about
Yes.
all this.
Well, and
I think indirectly they are very much involved as to the point where they didn't know about anything until he showed up and then they
Well,
decided to
see,
help
and
him
I
out at
wonder
that
if
point.
he had some sort of story. So, like, when he showed up, it's like, yeah, we're not together anymore. And it was almost one of those things where the parents are like, okay, he's going to go through a tough time. Let's just kind of like let him
Sure,
be and
yeah.
come
Let him
to
have
us.
his peace.
You
Yeah.
have no
When-
idea if he came home and was like, I dropped her off. We're done. I
Well,
need time alone. Like,
Yeah,
And-
exactly.
And a lot of
Okay.
people are getting mad that the police didn't do anything when he showed up. But the hard thing is they had no reason to think that he did anything.
Yeah.
Number one. Number two, they wanted to question him. He got a lawyer involved, and he said, I don't want to be questioned. That's his right.
That's the immediate red flag.
Now,
that-
did he
it
do that
is.
immediately out the gate, or did he do that after he was deemed as a
he
as a
immediately
person
out
of
the gate
interest?
was,
Oh,
I don't
he
want to
was-
talk to anybody.
He was gone before that happened.
Yeah. He immediately
He
out the
was.
gate was, I don't want to talk to the police. And his reasoning behind so is because he's seen too many times that someone who has been not guilty has been forced as the guilty person. And so he's like, I'm not going to talk to the police and have them, I can't think of the right word for it, but, or self-incriminate.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't want to talk to them and self-incriminate myself over something I didn't do, which
In all fairness,
Smart
unfortunately,
move.
that is something that
yes,
does happen.
unfortunately, this has happened many times before. I've listened to a lot of podcasts before where the police have immediately eyed this person and they're going to go after this person and they will do anything and take anything this person says against them. And he didn't want that to happen. So the police can't do anything. And then what is it? 4 days after he disappears, after he shows home?
Well, so I'm curious. Can you find on your computer when he lawyered up?
Yeah, I'll look into it. Here's one thing that's kind of weird that I didn't notice. So the Petito's family reported that she was missing to Suffolk County Police Department in New York.
Yes. They lived in New York.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The Petitos lived in New York.
I didn't know that part. I thought they were in Florida also.
No.
the
So that
Laundries
makes
lived in Florida.
total sense. The parents probably had no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
said, "This
they
is
just had-
ridiculous,"
And he
after.
probably told his parents that, oh, we broke up. Okay, well, where's Gabby? Well, she
She's
went
in
back
a
home.
home in New York. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, see, that makes
So
a
and
big
that's why
difference.
and that's why I'm curious when he lawyered up, because if as a parent to Brian, I'd be like, what are you lawyering up for?
Well, that's the thing, though, is it's the same thing as self-incrimination. The police are going to start questioning me because of her disappearance, and I didn't do anything, but I don't want to be self-incriminated. So at that point, they're going to say, okay, lawyer up.
Well,
We
here's
need a
the
lawyer.
thing. It's not even just lawyering up. So on the day of the missing persons report, Laundrie declined to speak to investigators and instead provided information to a family attorney.
Oh, a family attorney.
Yep. The van was impounded by investigators and processed for clues. So it was the day they reported her missing is when he went to the family attorney.
Got you. So yeah, on September 11th, she was reported as missing, and on that same day, the van was processed for evidence.
So then again, it wasn't until September 15th that the FBI even named him a person of interest.
Exactly. And it says here on the day before he was named a person of interest, the 14th, the Petito family issued a statement accusing Laundrie of refusing to tell them where he last saw Gabby.
Mm-hmm.
So then that following day, he was named a person of interest. And on the 17th, the parents called the police to report Brian is missing as of Tuesday, September 14th, just the day before he was named the person of interest.
Which
He then headed to the County Park Carlton Reserve, which is about this gigantic
24,000
25,000 acre area.
Refuge.
Yeah, refuge.
But there's also been eyewitness neighbors who have claimed that the evening of the 14th, was that when he went missing? Was that when they claimed he
Yeah,
went
that's the
missing?
last
Was the
time
evening
they
of
saw
14th?
him.
That they saw basically his parents and him with a camper or whatever it was leave the house that night.
Oh, interesting.
See,
That's-
and
That's why I 100%
Interesting.
believe that the parents are involved in this.
they
I
probably
think
set him on the run.
I think they took him somewhere and put him on the run and came back and then declared him
So
missing.
they're harboring a
Well,
fugitive.
because to what Tony was saying earlier is his car was at the reserve, and the parents brought it home on that week on the Thursday night. They claimed,
Yeah,
but
it was
eyewitnesses
there-
said it was there on Wednesday.
Yeah, Wednesday morning.
So that's what you were
Yes.
talking about. So the parents, kid, this is what's weird. Kid goes to a nature reserve, ends up missing. So you go take his car.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
weird.
what the freak?
Parents-
How's he gonna get home?
I do not 100%. I do not think that he is dead. I don't think he offed himself. I do not.
I don't think he deserves to.
I think
Scumbag
he
needs to be tried.
is gone in the wind. His parents know and helped him get out,
But they have no idea where he's at now.
but they have no clue where he's at now. You can't prove that the parents know. unless somehow, some way you can get footage or pictures or anything. You can do eyewitness statements, but that's still hard.
So
You know,
he said, she said.
Yeah, it's he said, she said. You can still ultimately, if you want to make a case out of it, they can, but you've got to, without a shadow of a doubt, prove it to happen.
So
sorry.
No, you're
Oh,
going.
I was gonna say you're still in Florida, where now you are so close to a bunch of borders
And
to
an ocean.
and an ocean, all this stuff where it's been so much time now. I think he's gone in the wind, and I think he's somewhere.
I think he's in Mexico.
I think he's outside of the United
Well,
States.
and even
now.
think about it though, like in Florida has a massive amount of like nature reserve.
Yes.
Easily tons of places for him to hide out
Yes.
for a long time. Like it's
Yes.
I don't think people realize how like wild Florida actually is.
Well, and
Yeah.
that's the funny thing is I'm also at the same time this is all going down. Halloween's coming in. I'm watching Dexter.
Yeah.
And one of the very first few episodes is they're going hunting in like Florida, and I'm like, oh, this is weird. And it gets even weirder when you start seeing palm trees and they're holding a rifle. You're like, palm trees, and they're hunting deer.
And
What the
alligators.
heck?
Lots of gators.
But yeah, so to press forward on the time,
real quick,
Yeah,
what
go
were you
for it.
gonna say, Tony?
I was just gonna say, do you think the parents are do you think they believe he's innocent and they don't want him to be tried as guilty when they think he's innocent, so that's why they're helping him run? Or do you think they know he's guilty and they don't want their baby to be arrested? So
I think
know.
it's the
latter.
latter.
Possibly the latter.
I think it's his baby, it's their baby. They know, they understand. Maybe he flat out told them, I messed up, and they feel horrible for him. And
He's a manipulator too,
Yeah.
so maybe even
maybe manipulated his parents to even thinking.
gaslighting them.
Yeah.
See, that's possible. I've kind of batted around with the theory of maybe it was a complete like tragic accident where they're
thought
arguing, something's going on. They're in the Tetons. They're in like a crazy place. What if he accidentally, like, she grabs him, he pulls her arm, she falls off something, or he hits her, she slips.
I
Like,
was gonna say,
what
she
if
could
something
easily
tragic happened?
Trip, fall, hits her head on a rock just right that it kills her, and he doesn't know how to handle it.
Million
Call
dollar
the
baby.
police.
$1 million baby,
You call
Yeah.
the police.
right?
Yeah.
$1 million
But, like-
baby, for those that don't know, is this boxer.
I hated
She gets
that part.
sucker punched right after the bell rings, and she
Right
as
as they're
she's
putting
walking
her
to
stool
her
out,
corner of the ring, and as she's walking, she gets knocked out and she falls onto the stool and dies.
breaks her neck.
Yeah.
Oh, I've wanted to watch that movie.
Well, you
Bro,
had
it's
20
like
years.
10 years old.
It's more than that.
Yeah, a lot of years old.
But I mean, yeah, it could be any of those.
It could be, yeah. It could be something as stupid as that where he freaked out.
Because it just makes you wonder. Again, I don't want to sound like I'm trying to like take
Well, and we
this
won't
guy's
know
side,
fully, but
you just don't know what certain people would do in an extreme situation. You know, maybe he definitely could. First thing he thinks of is like, you know, I killed her. It's a total accident, but now I'm going to prison for the rest of my life. Like in his head, he's immediately guilty. There's no way of proving it was an accident. And so his only thought is to run.
See,
Yeah.
and that's the hard thing about that is though, and I don't necessarily fully believe that. And it could be absolutely true. Could be 100%, but and then maybe it's just because I know a little differently. But there are so many ways that, you know, even the person looking over the body, all that stuff, they can tell how they died.
Yeah, and I think that's where we're gonna
And-
have to wait for the coroners.
Yeah, the coroner's report to say, hey, this is how they died. But even if, you know, if he calls up and say, hey, it was a horrible freak accident, the police are going to take his side unless they see otherwise.
Yeah.
And
Not
they're
now.
if he's the 100%, that's the one thing that a lot of people don't understand is if you are 100% honest with the police and stick with your same story true, because they'll come back 3 months later, and if your story changes, that's where they're going to be like, whoa, wait a second, you said this earlier, now you're saying this.
Yeah.
It's if you're going at it and you're like, hey man, we were here, she tripped, she fell, she broke her neck, she was unconscious, I couldn't get back to her. By the time I called you guys, she was dead. If you stick to that story the whole time, like at that point it's he said, she said, and they have no investigation to come through it unless the coroner comes by and say, well, no, she didn't hit her head, she was choked to death. And then
Yeah.
they're gonna be like, whoa, wait a second.
Yeah. This doesn't match up.
Yeah.
She fell into a rock that had fingers.
What's this bullet hole?
So then let's see here. I've just got one more week of timeline just to kind of catch people up to what's kind of going on current. It says, in the meantime, the FBI searched the Grand Tetons for clues as to what happened. That's kind of where that footage kind of led them to the correct spot.
Oh, it was hours after that YouTube video came out that they found it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, I can't remember if the vloggers noticed it or if people actually watching the video.
No, they were going through their footage and found it.
Okay,
Yeah,
I think they were probably editing a video.
Okay, because I wasn't sure if it was them or if it was people who watched their video and went like, "Wait, well, that van looks really familiar."
Now I'm really curious because I didn't look into this too heavy, but I'm curious if that couple that was editing their footage, if they went back with the idea of like, "Hey, we were through that area. Like, let's look through our footage and see if we see anything." Or if they were just purely editing and they were like, hold up.
From what I understand is they were just editing.
Yeah. Because I mean, if they're probably daily vloggers almost and just.
Well, they said too, though, that they saw the Florida plates and they stopped to say hi and then realized nobody was at the campground.
Because they were also Florida.
Oh, right.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because they were also from Florida.
Yeah. So maybe it was a.
That's exactly, they're Floridians.
Maybe it was a combination is like they were going to edit, but then they were like, hey, this is coming to news. They were from Florida. They were in that van. We saw that van. We were going to stop and say hi. Let's look through our footage and see if there's anything there.
Yeah. See, and that's the thing. That's why the truth comes out, man. No universe, God, whatever you believe in, like makes stuff happen.
Yeah.
Like some of these are too coincidental to be like boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
Literally hours after that video comes out, the police are like, let's look there. Found it.
That's so
in the
crazy.
same place.
Yeah.
So then September 19th, authorities say they have found a body believed to be Gabby. September 20th, police execute a search warrant at Laundrie's home for evidence. September 21, a coroner confirms that the remains found is Gabby Petito. Basically the initial manner of death is homicide is all that they've released. September 23rd, there 2 days after the arrest warrant is issued. A federal court in Wyoming issued the arrest for Brian Laundrie. He's charged with the unauthorized use of a debit card, get this, to make an unauthorized withdrawals worth more than $1,000 during the time Petito went missing. So on top of that, he's also
using her money.
He used her card.
Well, okay. Honestly, it's genius because that is 100% fact. They have solid proof on that. So it's a reason to hold him while they investigate the murder.
Yeah. And then on the 24th, they held a candlelight vigil for her in her hometown of Blue Point, New York. So as of this recording, again, this is just a few days old, not super old. But as of yet, Brian is yet to be found. He's believed to be somewhere near the Carlton Reserve, again, which is about 25,000 acres, filled with swamps, wildlife like alligators, crocodiles, deer, like you name it. So who knows?
Hopefully
may even
loses
be
a
dead.
leg to a gator.
And then
he's probably dead by attack.
By alligator.
Like,
There's just a herd of alligator. We're like, we know what you did.
Sad thing is, I mean, that as fine as that is, the sad thing is there's no
closure.
Yeah.
Right.
That's why.
I mean,
well, and again, this is all speculation. Like who knows? Some crazy event information comes out. We may change our tune if that's the way the information goes.
Hell no.
But as things
He
stand,
100% did
he's
it.
got to
There ain't
too much
anything coming out. He did it.
He's a coward.
I'm
Too much
sorry.
incrimination.
Like even with lawyering up, if they told him to just like bolt,
Although
that's a big red flag.
Sad thing is though, I mean, sad thing and the justifying thing is even if something crazy did come out, let's say it wasn't him, but a lot of people still believe it was him, he's still going to go to jail for his unauthorized use of a debit card of her card after she passed away. And evading authorities. Like
that's going to be the big one.
He's going to still serve time, even if it's not for the murder of her.
Yeah.
Like,
so to add on to the notes of this, I was going to read off some of his identifiable features, but Cam, if you could just throw a picture of him up on the screen while we're talking about it.
I know there's a group of pictures
face
out there that show 3 of him together. One where he's has hair, one where he's bald, and one where he's like clean shaven. There's 3 different pictures of him that shows him that he could be Like one where has a beard, one where he's wearing a hat.
Just different.
Just different identifications of him.
Yeah.
Wow.
He's approximately 5'8", 160 pounds.
Wait, he's only 5'8"?
Yeah.
How tall was she? Because
must
she
be
makes him
probably
look like a
like-
giant.
Yeah, she must have been real short.
Yeah, she was probably like what,
5
5'2",
foot. Yeah. Jeez.
Yeah.
And if you do
5'8"?
have
Little pussy. Sorry.
right, hey, that's fine. That's fine. He is.
I'm sorry. Like
He's a POS
in this
man.
stuff, I think of like me in this situation,
Yeah.
my kids, stuff like that, and I would. I'm not gonna. Never mind. I'm not gonna say what I do. I don't want this
I'm
recorded.
the same way.
Never mind.
That's
Just
fine.
imagine.
Don't wanna
and
incriminate
I would
yourself.
do that.
Yeah.
And if you do have any possible sightings, please let the FBI know. You can go to fbi.gov/tips.
Well,
Also,
and there's
amwtips.com. Or
there's
call
a
the FBI
$20,000.
directly. 25,000.
Oh, it went up.
Oh wait, no, you're right. 20,000.
$20,000
reward offered for information on Brian Laundrie. So
Here's something I found out today though that I think is just dope. Dog the Bounty Hunter is after this guy.
I
You remember him?
Yeah, mullet and all, huh?
Yeah, dude, he is straight up. He's investigating and looking for him because
Good.
he finds it. He says it's personal because he has a daughter who was her age that died, and he's
Really?
he's just after this dude.
Is he a Floridian? I
He's
could
still-
see him as a
I
Floridian.
guess he was on his honeymoon
That-
in Florida, and people were messaging him about it.
Really?
And so he's like, "All right, I'm gonna go look into it." So he
Dang.
went
Dog.
to their to the Laundrie's house, knocked on
Really?
the door, wanted to ask him questions.
Dude, I hope Dog brings justice.
Heck yeah,
to the
dude!
Petito
Restart his
family.
series.
That and I want to take some time too. And from all of us, we, give our condolences
Oh,
Yes,
to the Petito
1000%.
family.
Absolutely heartbreaking story.
Heartbreaking.
No one should have to go through
With
something
all
else.
of us being parents and even non-parents, it's just tragic. I couldn't imagine.
Yeah.
Well, and I think as a parent, it's a lot easier to put yourself in the position of a parent in that
And
situation.
have that empathy for it.
Like, could you? I can't even fathom the pain
Mm-mm.
of like just knowing that your daughter is
Well,
no
see,
longer here.
And that's what gets me is as his parents. So, okay, being a parent, you put yourself in both sets of parents' shoes. If my child murdered somebody else or suspectedly murdered somebody else, I would, as a parent, put myself in the other parent's shoes. Like, okay, you did this, but like, how would I feel if I lost you? That's feeling worse than now me feeling like you just killed somebody. So I'm sorry. We're serving justice here.
Definitely.
you
Well,
got to own up to.
Yeah.
I'm big on you got to own up to what you
Like,
did.
does that make sense what I'm
I would
trying to
arrest
say?
my
Like-
kid myself. You know what I mean?
Well, like I mean, yeah, like I would want justice to be served. Unfortunately, even if it was against my own child.
Yep.
But I would still get the kid a lawyer. But I would never tell him to run away.
No.
Yeah.
I would never help him escape.
It's like, you know what? Let's lawyer up. Let's go to the
Let's
authorities.
go through the proper
Go
processes.
through the proper process. If the jury finds you guilty, then
Yeah,
That's-
there's a show on Apple TV Plus, defending Jacob.
Yeah.
This exact
I've heard of
scenario.
it.
Well, yeah, kid ends up dying. These people's son becomes the prime suspect, and the whole show is just about, as parents, dealing with that. You never truly know if the kid did it or not, but evidence points both ways, and it keeps going back and forth. So you watch the parents going through this, and ultimately, like, spoiler alert, like the mom decides to take it into her own hands, tries to commit suicide with the kid, but they both survive. But like, it shows this crazy breakdown of like, what would you do in that situation? You know, not knowing if your child murdered somebody, would you defend them? Would you like help? Like, it's a horrendous spot to be in.
I'd have them go through the proper channels, but I mean,
So that's our thing is if, and a lot of people will look differently because I know a lot of people have different situations when it comes to police officers and when it comes to investigators. I myself, 100%, I mean, I see it differently. And I 100% believe that if he has nothing to hide,
Yeah.
then
Why isn't he helping?
yeah, why don't you help? Even if circumstantially it looks bad that he shows back home with her and without her and everything like that. But if you have your story and if you have nothing to hide and you have this stuff, like, I'm sorry, it's gonna come to light, and you're gonna either way. I mean, you're gonna be just fine.
That's why I think he's guilty.
That's
So-
you know, and that's
So what happens if and when they find him? They still don't have any evidence it was him. Just because he's running, they might.
That's-
But,
They could have found
but just
something
because
in the
he's
van by
running
this point,
doesn't
and-
necessarily mean he's guilty.
All they have
They
is
would
circumstantial
have
stuff.
to they would have to
Right.
get a confession though, right?
Well, unless the coroner's report comes back saying that he would. That
you don't
she-
necessarily have to get a confession, but if you have circumstantial evidence, at that point you can take it to court, and
So
you
what
can
would be-
charge him.
What would be considered circumstantial?
He was in the
coroner's
area.
report, number 1. Number 2, he was in the area.
Blood on clothing.
Number 3, if they find any type of blood anywhere,
Any
in
evidence
the
in the
van,
van.
any evidence, anything like that.
But
That
wouldn't
sandal.
they would already be doing all of that right now, though, right?
So-
And they haven't found
Well,
anything
that's
from what we
why.
know.
That's
They
probably
haven't
why it
said
took
they
so
found
long for him to come out
Can I
as a.
Ask a question real quick. So my idea, circumstantial evidence is pointing you around the act, but you don't have proof that they did the act, but everything around the act is.
You don't have a
provable.
smoking gun.
Yes.
Right?
Like
Yes.
he was
And
there,
they-
she was there, she's dead.
They have all that.
And that's where at that point you can arrest him, you can file charges,
So
you can take it to a court, and you can at that point either have a judge or you can have a jury.
Decide.
Well, who
Decide.
chooses that?
He does.
Yeah.
Laundrie chooses
Yes.
if
Yep.
he gets a jury or a judge.
Yes, they can choose the person who the defendant can basically choose. I would like to be judged by a peer of my, by the peer of whatever it's called, the juries,
Yeah.
or I would rather have a judge.
So they
Interesting.
could convict him with nothing but you were there type thing.
Not necessarily.
No,
There has
they're
to
going
be.
to have a lot of different.
There's gotta
No,
be more
because
than
if
that.
you present that to a judge or even a jury and say the only reason we think it's him is because he was there, they're going to be like, innocent.
But they
Yeah, 'cause
could
I
go
mean-
out and it's like, okay, he was there when she went missing. He immediately lawyered up and then he disappeared. And like the facts that we do know that we just went over, they could potentially use that.
They could,
yeah.
but
Yeah.
that's a very weak argument.
I mean,
You have to find.
There's got to be stuff on
You
her
have
body.
to find stuff on her body. You have to use a coroner
the
report.
van.
You have to find
Yeah.
stuff in the van.
Because
blood
that
evidence,
stuff, yeah, obviously.
stuff like that.
Like, think about it. If the van was parked there because he was burying her body, her sandals on the ground, there's gonna be evidence in that van that she was
I
dead.
mean-
Leftover blood,
Yeah,
fibers,
let's-
whatever. I mean,
not
there will
the-
be fibers, but
Not just that too, but the warrant is for him stealing money, right? Who
That
knows
too.
what else they have? So that's maybe
Yeah.
just to get him arrested, but they have a whole bunch of other things
Yeah.
that they can charge him with that they're not
Yeah.
putting it until they get him
and they could
in
yeah.
custody.
Exactly.
I just
So-
hope that, I guess my bottom line is I hope that they have the evidence that if and when he's found, they can put him away
I mean, if
for
you,
more than just fraud.
yeah. Well, I mean, if you look at it this way, look at we talked about Ted Bundy earlier. Earlier in our podcast. If you look at him, if they would have gone into a judge's court and said circumstantial evidence, the only thing we have is we can place him in the time where all of these murders happened. We can place him there. We can do this stuff. We can do all this stuff. They're going to be like, well, what other evidence do you got other than he was just there? Well, we don't have anything. Okay, well,
And
then
that'll get
you're
thrown
innocent.
out.
It'll get thrown out so quickly.
Well, it
Yeah.
did several times.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I
with
mean,
Bundy.
yeah, you
Oh, yeah.
just have to. You have to have the right stuff to you can place him there, but you have to have more than just placing him there.
You're
And I
right.
feel there should be. I feel
And
there is more.
I 100% feel they have something,
Yeah.
but they're not releasing it. They're not saying what they have.
Well, especially while they haven't found him. Maybe if he's somewhere where he could be still watching the news and staying caught up, if they're releasing everything as they're finding it, he could be coming up with a new plan. And
Which I still feel is frustrating that the news is sharing where they're searching for him.
dude, there's a lot of stuff in the news that never made sense to me. Like
That's-
you'd see like, oh, we're in the middle of the war. You'd have people on the news. Yeah, we're fighting here. We're sending troops here. I'm like, why the freak are you saying this? Like, don't tell us.
Yeah, it's the same thing here.
They see it too.
They're searching this area for Brian Laundrie. It's like, Okay, now you
Cool.
just
So I'm going to
told
stay
him
in this area.
Yeah, you just told him, and now he can go over to this area.
It's like,
I
what? We
mean,
don't need to
Unless
know
that's
until
part
after.
of the smoke and mirrors.
But on a previous
It could be.
podcast
I don't think
too,
that's smart.
we talked about how what was it, the Bayside Strangler or what? Who was it? Actually got away because the news got wind of it that they were going to go erase. The guy who would. Who is that guy?
Are you thinking
Are
of
you
the
talking
Utah
about-
one?
No,
the-
not the
no.
Strangler. The other guy, the guy who
The
stayed
murder among the Mormon
No,
guys.
oh,
at
you're
the
talking
Cecil
about the
Hotel.
Cecil Hotel guy.
Yeah,
That was he was a
one
serial
who
killer.
walked literally
Yeah.
through the
Oh.
hotel with blood on him.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the news reported his shoes, which was the only evidence they had, and they didn't want that getting out. And he knew it, so he got rid of his shoes, and he actually was able to get away with killing more people because the news came out with it. So, who was that guy?
Stop
can't-
it, news.
it's like
I know who
Hernandez.
you're talking about.
Bollocks.
I forget his name.
Ah,
It
bollocks.
almost popped in. But
Jack the Ripper?
No,
No, that was in
No,
England.
that was in
No, he's
England.
Hernandez.
That'll
or
be a
s-
fun
it was like
podcast.
he was the guy who'd sneak into the houses. And
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
he
then
was
they
the
eventually had to
Night
start
Stalker.
doing
the Night Stalker.
Yeah, there
Night
you go.
But I can't
Stalker.
remember his real name.
The Night Stalker is all that matters.
yeah,
I don't know.
that's gonna. I'm gonna sleep at night now because I couldn't think of the guy's stinking name.
But it's
Anyway, it's a
all
very
insane.
unfortunate
It's horrible.
circumstance.
It is horrible.
And
Oh, I remember what I was going to say. Sorry. It was to your point talking about like as a parent, her parents wrote a letter to his parents
yeah,
pleading with them. Like tell us where he is. Like give us something as parents talking to parents.
Yeah.
Like what how could you put our other children, her younger siblings through this?
Yeah.
Letting them go on having no idea what happened to their sister.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like, I mean, they're pleading to them, like, you're a parent. Like, what would you do if the roles were reversed? What if she showed up and he was long gone? Like,
Right?
I wouldn't want to put someone else through that either.
No.
yeah.
You know, and it's hard to say too if it was a 100% accident and it was just a slip of the hand where he got pissed off and just accidentally did something. You know, I don't want to say the court will have favor for that, but some of the times they can understand. They can.
Well, that's
they can
why they have
look
manslaughter.
At, exactly. They
murder.
can
They
look
have
at
different
situations.
stages.
You can plead to other things where you're still going to serve time.
Yeah.
But the way he's acting right now, if he did do it, they catch him, it's more than likely going to put him away for life.
Throw the book at him.
Yes.
I mean,
where
when-
if he would have just came forward beforehand and say it was a 100% accident, like this happened, my actions got carried away from me. A lot of times they can say, hey, you know what? We can plead manslaughter for a 100% accident. You might do 25 years max with a potential of getting out after 10.
Good
you know,
behavior and all that.
You know, all that
Yeah.
stuff.
It's just horrible. It's
Yeah.
a horrible situation.
Mm-hmm.
It's
It's tragic.
It is.
It's
Tragic.
truly a tragedy. And
you
like
know,
one note on it, and then really a question. Actually, just a question because the note I completely forgot. Anyways, do you think this could have been premeditated, or do you lean more towards like a crime of passion?
I think it was more crime of passion.
Like it's they just were
I
in a
think-
heated argument, and
I think it was built up over time.
yeah,
I that's what I think. I don't think he premeditated that he was going to do this, but I
Mhm.
think it was built up over time.
just
and then
from
he just snapped.
The YouTube thing makes me see it both ways. Like,
Yeah.
why would you, as you're just trying to get this vlog off the ground, go and do this? But at the same time, like we kind of said at the beginning, for the ratings and stuff.
Well, it makes it sound like it was
I don't
more so
know.
her pet project because
Yeah.
nobody talks about his Instagram. She detailed everything in her Instagram. She was the one who was upset with him while she was trying to start the vlog. That's what led to the altercation on the
And it
12th.
could be he was just along for the ride while she was trying to do everything.
Yeah.
And I mean, a toxic relationship, according to friends, put into a tiny little van,
Mm-hmm.
trekking across country
She's got OCD and trying to get this thing off the
and
ground.
anxious. Mm-hmm.
Well, and actually, there was a brief moment in time there where there was like a window of time where she wasn't posting to Instagram, and he posted like 3 posts back to back or something
On his own
on his
Instagram?
own Instagram.
Was that when?
I can't recall. I want to say
Before
it was.
or after?
I want to say it was the days leading up to the pumpkin picture.
Oh, okay.
So,
So right near
yeah.
the end.
So
Oh, I remember my note now. With all that's going on in the world and with how people are currently looking at police officers, do you think that could have influenced his, if it was accidental and he's running because he's scared he'll be blamed, do you think that could have influenced it? The way the world is essentially like pointing the torches and pitchforks at our law enforcement officers.
I think depending on the community that he lives in and everything, because I feel like it kind of goes for all the like very touchy subjects going on in the media right now. It depends on where you live that influences your opinion, right? The vaccines on COVID is a big one right now. Your opinion on the vaccine could be highly influenced depending on where you live. I feel like the same for law enforcement, depending on, I don't know what's going on in Florida or anything when it comes to law enforcement, or specifically the area that
supportive.
Specifically the area he's in. But if he were living in an area where they were a little more against law enforcement, then yes, I could see that. But
I still think it's a garbage excuse.
I agree.
Oh, 100%.
It is. And
no, I'm not saying it's a good one. I'm just saying could it have influenced?
I 100%. When he showed up without her, I was very suspicious.
Yeah.
But when they tried to question him and he said, I'm not talking.
Right to the attorney.
I 100% understood that because, you know, there are cops out there who will immediately focus in on one person. We think it's you. We're going to make sure it's you. And I've heard many stories. I've listened to very many interviews where they have immediately just been like, you are the person and we're going to stick it to you. So I get it. That's one, like I 100% understood it, because I was like, you know, you don't want to self-incriminate yourself. But
with it being,
where the point where he runs after that, that's where it became very...
With it being so big too, do you think an officer would want to be the one who solved the case?
You could. I mean, you some national media like this, and you're the officer that solves the case, that could do some stuff for you.
Yeah. Interesting points, but either way, a very tragic story.
Yeah.
Again, if you know of any whereabouts, or if you see him, please let the FBI know. Again, there's a $20,000 bounty.
And it looks like there was also another eyewitness account that they had an explosive argument in a restaurant in Jackson Hole.
Oh, yeah, I did read
Hence
about that.
why he didn't want to go back to Jackson.
Maybe.
With those hitchhikers.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, crazy, wild story, but man, it's just heavy. So if you need something light, go check out one of our other podcasts. Yeah. We really appreciate you tuning in. We thank you for being part of this crowd. And we hope to see you guys here again next week.
And also, if you have anything to correct us on with this, if we did say anything wrong or got anything out of place, let us know.
Yeah.
I mean,
let us know.
Feel free to correct us. We, you know, like I said, we're trying to get everything we can as best as we can.
Throw it all down in the comments. Let us know if anything else is further developed. And thanks so much. And we'll see you guys next time.
Love you guys.
See ya.
Ciao.
Bye.